So the tattoo thing really got to me. I was like, you couldn't even get another type of tattoo. You had to get it on the arm that it's on and the same type of tattoo. That's creepy. It's like having somebody literally trying to take your life. It's weird. This is like stuff made of movies. When you're a creator of any sort, whether you're a photographer, a writer, an artist, a musician, you will at some point run into an issue of copyright infringement. And copyright infringement is very, very prevalent in content creation these days. And unfortunately, sometimes the people that are copying these content go a little bit too far when it comes to what they're trying to take from another artist. First story that we're actually going to look at is between two very, very, very different creators. And one of them, you guys might know, is Nara Smith. At this moment, Nara Smith has about 11.5 million followers on TikTok. She is a model, a South African, and also a Mormon. She's married to another model, of course. She's actually quite young and has children. The kind of content she makes is literally cooking from scratch content, where she makes things. She'll make like candy from scratch. She'll make cereal from scratch. She'll make like spaghetti, things like that from scratch. And she's actually quite good at it. It's very aesthetic. It's very pleasing. She's always dressed up in glam. She's very like fabulous when she's cooking her food. One of the things that makes her stand out is this.
When I asked my husband whether he wanted dessert after lunch today, I was expecting him to say no. But when he said he was craving an ice cream sundae, I just had to make him one.
Like I said before, she is South African, but she was raised in Germany. I believe she's also biracial. The thing about Nara Smith is that not only does she have 11.7 million followers, but this lady gets views. Okay, which is something that I feel like a lot of people don't really understand when it comes to content creation as a whole, is like you can have a lot of subscribers, but if the views and the engagement is not there, you might as well just be creating content for robots. And I'm so jealous of her because there's something about her that people just seem to very, very resonate with, and it works. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, she's so glamorous, she has it all together, she's able to amass such a huge following online, but at the same time she's able to keep it all together and keep it like nice and clean and aesthetic and pleasing. She also has the handsome husband and the kids, and she's also young, so she's really, really, really doing her thing, this Nara Smith lady. On the other side of this copyright infringement issue is Oneswa Umbala. I really hope I said her last name right. I know I'm saying her first name right because I've heard her say it a few times, so I know that's right, but I don't know about her last name. I'm so sorry. Oneswa is also South African, and I learned recently that both women are South African, which is quite interesting. So Oneswa's content is slightly different from Nara Smith's, but the reason why they have a copyright infringement issue will come up in a second. So Oneswa's content is more like this. She does more farm to table kind of cooking, where she literally forges and raises everything that she cooks.
I'm Oneswa, and I make meals using items that I've grown, raised, or foraged.
So as you can tell there, she literally makes things from scratch too, but it's from her like backyard, her garden and things like that. So very different aesthetics. Oneswa is not as glam. She's not as aesthetically pleasing, quote unquote, but she still has that very like calming, chill vibe where a lot of people can actually relate to. Oneswa has 1.1 million followers. That is Oneswa for you. She's like really chill and like she seems really kind and, you know, very creative with her cooking, and everything she makes looks so good. The reason why this whole thing started between the two of them is because sometimes last year Oneswa came and made this claim.
For months now, I have watched a very, very popular content creator use my ideas, and again, I'm not the first person to do anything. They have continuously used my ideas to get views. Now, that would be fine, except in South Africa, we don't get paid for views. And where she is,
and that's something I didn't know. I didn't know that you don't get paid for views in South Africa, which is really sad. That's really, really sad.
They get paid for views. So she has been making money off stealing my content. Always managed to change the videos just enough so that I cannot say that they are my ideas. And when I took a break from content creation recently, she then went and moved on to my YouTube and started using ideas from my YouTube. So
the part of Nara Smith supposedly using her content and then moving on to YouTube to use her content, it was very, very surprising to me. I was like, damn girl, like you had to also move to her YouTube? That's crazy.
for months at a time, just venting to my boyfriend and to my friends, and they've all told me, just let it go, because you are going to be dragged by her mob of followers and you'll get cancelled. And so I've kept quiet. And recently I made a boba tea. We all saw it, we all loved it, and I was so very, 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 very proud of that video. I tweeted about it, I was so excited for it, and then a day later she made a boba video. And you might say it may be a coincidence. That would be fine if it was a coincidence, except it's a coincidence that happens very often. So is it really a coincidence? I am very disheartened. I am very disheartened because she's making thousands of dollars in views, and I am lucky to get a brand collab.
Not even thousands, not even like hundreds of thousands at this point. Hundreds of thousands at this point. I believe the boba video that Oneswa is talking about here, that probably amassed like maybe 15 million views, and I don't even know how much that makes. So in that video, she actually did not call out Nara Smith directly, right? But we'll come back to that in a second. She didn't call her out, but she did say a very big, TikToker copied my content, copied my boba content, and a couple of days later, she also created a boba video. And that's, I think, of course, with a lot of internet sleuths and a lot of people just kind of putting the pieces together, they realized that it was Nara because she recently created a boba video. I'm going to play you guys the boba content right here, and you guys can kind of comment below if you think the content itself is similar or not. One thing you do have to remember is that Nara Smith's vibe as a whole is completely the opposite of Oneswa. But pay attention to everything else these two videos are going to be doing side by side.
Combine some brown sugar and water, let that heat up before adding in some tapioca, starch, and black food coloring. I then return that to the stove until it thickens up before adding the rest of my tapioca starch. Once that was all combined, I poured it onto my counter and started kneading it until it all came together. I then split my dough in two just so it's easier to handle and rolled it out before cutting it in smaller pieces and rolling those into balls. You can make them as big or as small as you want. I made them a little smaller because I knew that they were going to expand once I boiled them. Once my dough was rolled out into balls, I transferred them over to boiling water and let them boil for about 15 minutes while I got started on steeping my rooibos tea. Right before my pearls were done cooking, I heated up some brown sugar and transferred them over. Once they were all coated in the brown sugar, I poured them into my glass, topped them with some ice and my rooibos tea. I obviously needed a splash of milk, and this hit the spot. It was so much better than store-bought boba.
Were the content similar in any way, shape, or form? Let me know in the comments below what you think when it comes to their content. Did you pay attention to the filming? Did you pay attention to the shots? Did you pay attention to the way that everything was kind of made as a whole? How it's shot by shot, scene by scene, what was said in each of the content. And I think that is what is very important here. When this first came out, a lot of people were very confused because they were comparing the aesthetics of the women. People were really, really harsh on Oneswa to say, how dare she compare herself to Nara Smith because Nara Smith's content is much better than hers, and how dare she think that Nara would copy her. And in response to the backlash that Oneswa received, this is her second video on the issue.
My aunt loves to say, "Awuyomali, soza uthanda umuntu wonke," which simply translates to, you're not money, not everyone is going to like you. And so likability has never been something I yearned for. If I wanted to be liked, I would have been less outspoken about the things I believe in. I would have kept my opinions to myself, held my tongue, and chosen neutrality in my political beliefs, all in order to be liked and more palatable. And even then, someone would have hated the way I hold my knife or that my wooden spoons are stained, because you never win
the likability politics. I may be all these things, but I'm not a liar. And fortunately, your feelings about me do not alter the truth. I do not mince my words. If I said it, trust me, I will stand by it. Nara Smith was making kale salads with lemon juice and olive oil before she started stealing content ideas from small content creators. Now, I know she's not slow, and she intentionally misconstrued what I said with the comment about not being the first to make boba because she knew you would run with it, and gallop you did. To come and tell me I'm not the first to do anything.
It wasn't her saying that, Nara Smith's fans coming after Onezwa saying that, you're not the first person to do this. That wasn't the point of this entire conversation. That wasn't the point. Of course, she's not the first person to make boba. Of course, she's not the first person to make anything, even from, farm to table content. Of course, she's not. But I believe at the end of the day, it's the copyright issue and it's the lack of principle and the lack of crediting somebody for their work is the issue.
I said that 7 million times in that same video. I understand that some of you may be victims of Angie's education system and some of you were the children who were actually left behind. So
I really love that take. She's dragging everybody through the mud in this one.
Listening to understand might be a challenge. I can sympathize with that. Pattern and recipe may sound the same to you. Nara, it is very apparent that you're not the first person to make boba, because I think the first person who made boba tea to drink through a straw made sure that the boba could actually fit through the straw. You don't need to tell us that. And for you all asking if I credit everybody, if you find a pattern of me stealing ideas, feel free to call me out. Because I know very well I have a great track record of mentioning people who inspire my cooking. And I do use my little platform to bring attention to other creators who I feel deserve to have their talents celebrated. Two things are going to happen. One, I'm going to keep creating the videos of these meals you've all told me look unappetizing and you do them in your sleep. And two, Nara Smith is going to stop stealing content ideas. A win-win. And to the South Africans who have continuously undermined and disrespected me throughout this whole thing, your classism hasn't gone unnoticed. I hope my videos remind you that your reality is closer to mine than it is to this American dream you're gallant.
We've heard this before where big creators take on little creators, content all the time. Even major companies do it. They always copy smaller companies or smaller artists' content and repurpose it for themselves. But this one, Onezwa, is upset because she feels like she's been doing it for a very long time. And this one was a direct attack on her content. What has Nara Smith said about these accusations against her? First of all, she has never said anything blatantly about the accusations. She's never come out and made a video. She's never said anything. She's never really addressed the issue, which is something I kind of applaud her for, because I feel like every content creator should, when they are in a situation like this, the best thing to do is just not say anything about it and just kind of let it kind of die over, unless it becomes like a legal issue. I think maybe you can say something about it after, of course, the legal issue situation is done. But for the most part, I feel like content creators, when they get into trouble like this or when they have bad PR like this, I think the best thing to do is probably not say anything at all. And I think Nara did the right thing here by not saying anything. In regards to the boba accusations, this is what Nara had to say at the beginning of the issue. She said, "I've never seen her videos, nor do I follow her. I'm not the first or last person to make boba," which I kind of pointed out earlier that wasn't the issue here. Whether or not you were the first or last person to make boba, that's not the issue. The issue is, of course, copying. Before everything came to fruition, people clocked that Nara might have been lying about knowing her or not even following her, because she did say this previously before everything else happened. Commented underneath Onezwa's video way before and said something like this: "I'm so sorry you have to deal with these comments. Your content is so inspiring." And then Onezwa responded, "Thank you, Nara." As she says here, she was pretty inspired by Onezwa. So she probably does kind of look through her stuff and copies her content, which happens a lot, unfortunately. But the point is, you do have to credit people where credit is due if you're inspired by somebody's content. Another way that it was believed that Nara Smith responded to Onezwa was that she threatened to sue her. Onezwa went on Twitter and posted a letter from supposedly Nara Smith and her team. You can pause to read the letter. It's just saying, I'm going to sue you. I don't think I stole your content and things like that. But you can go ahead and read it for yourself. After this letter was revealed and released, Nara Smith's team did say that they never sent out this letter in the first place. So people are saying that this letter is fake. Whether or not Onezwa herself made this letter and faked it, or she was sent this letter by somebody that was pretending to be a part of Nara Smith's team. So we really never know at the end of the day. After all is said and done, what happened at the end of the day? Where are these two women now? Well, Nara Smith is still making content. She's still being all lovey-dovey with her man and her kids. She's still, getting millions upon millions upon millions of views on her videos. She's still making cooking content. She's still doing all the fun influencer things and things like that. And she's having the best time of her life. As far as Onezwa goes, she's actually taking her content outside of TikTok. And she has been doing a lot of pop-up restaurants. She's even recently announced that she's coming out with a cookbook. So things are looking pretty bright for both women. I'm going to pause here and say, if you like this content, influencer stuff, news, entertainment, celebrity gossip, whatever, if you like it, please subscribe to this channel. I promise we have a lot of fun here. If you want to engage with this stuff, please comment, like, share, of course. And if you really want to support my channel and if you like what you see, go ahead and just click onto my profile and watch all my videos. That is really how you support me if you want to. Thank you so much. This next story is quite interesting because it begs the question, can you sue for an aesthetic? Sydney here is going to tell you her story.
I sued another influencer for copying my beige aesthetic, is what the articles are saying. There is so much more to the story that hasn't been told. I've been silent for 2 years and I'm finally ready to tell you my story. These are some of my posts compared to another influencer starting in 2023. I discovered so many posts that, in my opinion, were clearly copies of my content. It was not only shocking and frustrating, but it felt like everything I put into creating content was just stolen. I sent many requests to stop, emails, even cease and desist letters, but she kept posting. I felt like I had no other choice but to file a lawsuit.
The girl you just saw is Sydney Sloan. She has a couple 100,000 followers on TikTok, and she's talking about another influencer called Alyssa Sneal.
In December of 2022, I met up with 2 other influencers to get food and film content. We had a great time and texted a ton in our group chat after this. And we planned to meet up again in January of 2023. At the January meetup, it was the same thing and we talked a ton about hanging out again. It was like 6 days later when I realized I hadn't seen this girl's post in a few days, and that was weird because she posts a lot like most creators. So I went to check her Instagram to see if I just wasn't seeing her on my feed, if she was okay. And I was blocked. I immediately called the other girl we met up with. She wasn't blocked and she had no idea why in the world I would have been blocked when we had all just hung out and all talked about how excited we were to have content creator friends in the area. I sent a text in our group chat, never got a reply, so I moved on and didn't think about it again. Until months later, I saw her content on a creator seminar and people started sending me her content because they thought it was mine. It turns out after she blocked me, her content went from looking like this before we met to this. And I didn't see all these posts.
That is literally so weird. That is an identical content. Yeah, I was talking about, in my last story with Onezwa and Nara, you can kind of be a little bit vague about whether or not, Nara was copying Onezwa. You can say that, right? You can be like, oh, is she really? Is she not? Or is she more inspired? But in this one, this is a blatant copy of this woman's content. And actually, it gets a little worse.
For months because she blocked me, which seems to me like she didn't want me to see what she was posting. These are just a few of the almost 100 posts in comparison to mine that she made after blocking me. You can see my post date and then hers.
That's so weird. That's so weird.
This is what my website looked like. She changed hers from this to this, which is
the website. even down to the website. That's so creepy. I can't.
Word for word identical to mine. She would change her hair soon after I changed mine, and even got a similar tattoo after I posted mine.
So the tattoo thing really got to me. I was like, you couldn't even get another type of tattoo. You had to get it on the arm that it's on and the same type of tattoo. That's creepy. It's like having somebody literally trying to take your life. It's weird. This is like stuff made of movies. It's weird. Alyssa girl, that's weird. That's freaking weird.
So in mirror photos where our faces were covered, it all of a sudden looked even more similar to me with that tattoo. I even made a collection where I designed prints for clothes, and soon after, she made a similar collection. I believe her intention was to look so similar to me and copy my posts so similarly that she could profit off my business.
What Sydney is saying here is probably true. I think that was the point of her. I think her way was just to get her into the business. She just really wanted to make the same amount of money that Alyssa was making, which is really, really creepy. So when this first thing came out, people had a lot to say about it. Here's some takes.
The more I'm looking at it, absolutely, it's exactly the same thing.
I do see the copying.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say so.
Sydney Nicole Gifford is suing Alyssa Shield for allegedly copying her content and stealing her overall aesthetic.
It's a bit of trend to decorate your house like this.
How can you say that she started it? It's like copyrighting a color because it looks good on you.
Should an influencer be able to copyright a vibe?
If someone was copying exactly what I was wearing and what I was doing, I think I'd be really scared about that.
I throw out my clothes if I see someone else wear it too. Like, I don't like that.
I talked to some legal experts and the situation is pretty complicated.
They are both working in this particular sad beige aesthetic. Now, neither of them invented this. For pity's sake, go on to any of the real estate agents' ads and you can see the sad beige home. But that doesn't mean that they can't create something original within it.
What the courts will be looking at is how much individual judgment went into that photo. You know, the requisite skill, judgment, intellectual labor that goes into those posts. Yes, the angle is similar, but what about the composition of the photo? What about the products that are within the photo?
We'll have to see what happens in court.
A lot of things that were kind of wrongly said in this video were people thinking that Sydney was just suing for an aesthetic, which is kind of what the media kind of ran with. Because of course, you know, this girl saying like, this woman is literally copying me and I want her to stop copying me and I don't like it, does not sound as good as somebody saying, oh, she's copying my beige aesthetic. Now, for those of you who don't know a lot about content creation, this beige aesthetic thing is very, very, very popular when it comes to content creation. I was a huge fan of the beige aesthetic a couple of years ago. I hate it now. I find it boring and like just not fun. I don't get it. For the media, of course, to run with this whole narrative of that she is just suing because this person copied her aesthetic was completely and utterly wrong.
This lawsuit was about copyright infringement, DMCA violations, trade dress infringement, misappropriation, and vicarious copyright infringement. It's fighting for the rights of content creators because I do not believe that copying someone's content and business the way she did is okay. It
really wasn't. It completely was not okay. We don't do that. You don't copy. I understand getting inspired by people's content because it's very, very difficult nowadays to have an original content. It's very, very difficult because everything has been done a million trillion times, especially in this entire world of content creation. Everything has been done. There's no way to make anything original anymore because there's so much of the same content that you can see and want to do and relate and redo and repost. The point is that you don't copy it to this extent. After months and months of trying to fight Alyssa on this, this is the result of the suit.
I'm able to talk about this because I chose to walk away from this lawsuit. I have poured thousands of dollars and so much of my time and sanity these past 2 years. If I were to continue fighting this and bring it to a trial, I would have to spend up to $500,000. I can't do that. I am a new mom.
And, you know, something I do want to point out here too is that whenever people threaten to sue for copyright infringement, for instance, Copyright infringement lawsuits are very, very, very difficult to win because there's always, I feel like there's always that like murky, I'm no lawyer, but I always feel like there's that murky water of like, is it really copyright infringement? Did this person really copy, or was this person really inspired? So I can understand why Sydney would want to walk away from this lawsuit, because it takes a lot of effort to sue. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. So if you want to sue somebody, you think that you're going to sue and then walk away with millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. That's not how it works. So I'm glad that she made this decision to walk away.
And I can't spend that kind of money on a lawsuit, much less the time that it would take away from my baby and my family. I can't do it. So as much as I believe what she did was wrong, I needed to walk away from this. All I wanted from the start was to get her to stop. I never even wanted to bring this to social media, but I know that staying silent will just allow this to happen over and over again to more creators, which is why I needed to share this story. TikTok did remove her post that I considered infringing on my copyright registered post, which is a huge step in TikTok taking creators' rights seriously. I'm not sure why, but months later, TikTok also removed her account. So if you compare her new account now with mine, you're not going to see all the posts that made our accounts look like the same person the way they did in 2023 because they've been deleted. Because of how the media has spun this to seem like it's all a lawsuit over beige, I have received so much hate. I just hope that sharing this starts.
That is how the narrative gets spun, and people getting a lot of hate for bullshit. That's how it gets spun. The media is so messed up for this.
Bigger conversations to prevent anything like this from happening to other creators. I also pray that she isn't receiving the amount of hate I have. I'm not putting this out there to encourage any type of hate to her, me, anyone. Please remember, we are both real people. This lawsuit has personally taken over my life. I needed to share the truth and these details that the media hasn't, so I can finally close this chapter completely.
Good for her. Good for her for trying to stand up for herself, even though the lawsuit did not come into fruition. How did Alyssa respond to this? So this is how she actually ended up responding. This post is very cheeky, very cutesy, nothing huge, as if she didn't just copy an entire thing of content from her. I'm sure from her perspective, I'm sure that she was stressed out about this whole thing, but girl, you copied somebody else's content verbatim. So of course you are stressed out about it. So the caption says, "How'd you handle that so well?" "No, actually, I didn't. I lost my spark, lost myself, and cried every single day, felt completely numb to everything. I fought as hard as I could to prove myself and to everyone else that bullies will never win." So that's how she responded to the whole thing. And to this day, she has not really said anything else. Y'all, people love to release response videos after I have filmed my video, but Alyssa did release a response finally after a few days of Sydney's video. Here is what she had to say.
I wasn't going to make a video or talk about the lawsuit at all. I'd planned to just move on with my life now that the case had finished. However, my family, friends, and loved ones are getting insane amounts of hate from a video that's sharing a false narrative and a lot of misinformation. So I felt the need to share the actual truth. Over a year ago, I was sued, and this past week the case was ended in my favor. It's really easy to make something out of nothing when you're cherry picking examples, but when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, you realize there was never a real case to begin with. Half of the claims in this lawsuit were dismissed before my team even had the chance to file an answer. My lawyers and I showed photo metadata as well as my entire Amazon order history that proved I had ordered and filmed the product she accused me of copying weeks, if not months, before she ever posted. And the reality of the situation is that in the end, the other party had to ask for my team's permission to drop the case. What's even more frustrating is that hundreds of creators post Amazon content every single day using similar products, poses, and color palettes, but I was singled out. This wasn't just unfair, it was targeted. For the past year and a half, my lawyers and experts proved again and again and again that the claims in her complaint were simply not true and that I never copied her. I'm sharing this now so that the actual truth is out there, and I hope this helps everyone to see the full picture instead of just a cropped version. This has been the hardest year and a half of my life, and I am so glad it's finally over, but at the end of the day, this is a huge win, not only for myself, but for all creators. It proves that you can't just use meritless lawsuits to scare people out of creating. I stood up, I fought back, and the truth is, I won. I'm so grateful for my incredible legal team and for everyone who has supported me throughout this chapter and for everyone who will continue to support me.
So just from seeing that video alone, it's sort of disappointing that she didn't address any of the main issues that we had, which was about the tattoo, the websites, the fact that she had almost the exact same things as her. She didn't really address any of it, but it's okay. Again, She doesn't have to address anything that she doesn't want to, but I'm glad that she was able to release a video of her own to defend herself. So where are these two now? Sydney had recently had a baby. She got married. She had a baby. And she seems to be moving on pretty well. Alyssa got an account back, and now she's just creating kind of her own content and being very creative herself, which is really good. But girl, don't be out here copying people's content. I feel like next time somebody won't be as nice if she does this again. They will sue her into oblivion and she will lose everything. So this was just a lesson. So be careful, girl. It's okay to take content from other people's content. It's okay. I mean, the whole point is you do have to, you have to make it your own. You have to make it your own. And if you're not going to make it your own, credit the artist. Credit people, say inspired by, say I want to credit this person, say something. Copyright infringement cannot be avoided, but you can try your best to avoid it, because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make content. We all just want to make money, and we all just got to do our best to not copy so much. So if you do like influencer content, please consider subscribing, and I will be back with more videos like this because I love it myself, and I will see you next time. Thank you.